Morning, sister.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well, thank you. Just so the court is aware, Ms. Delgado decided that she would not appear today, this morning, and Ms. Stewart is actually at the downtown court at this time.
All right. Let me make some notes on those. And
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Delgado is the one that refused this morning, right?
Correct.
And Stewart is at court, so we'll bump her to tonight as well.
And I'm also still waiting for Mr. Warlo to come down, Your Honor. If he is not here by the time it is his turn, would you like to see him at the end of the calendar?
Which one did you say that was?
Warlo, he's number 2 in our housekeep separates.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, whenever you guys can bring him down is fine. We'll be here, so whatever works for you guys.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Of course. All right, sir, tell me your name.
Martego Collins.
Mr. Collins, you are here today on a domestic violence charge out of Sarita Municipal Court. The charge is domestic violence, threats, and intimidation. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services to the court that tells me a little bit about you and the circumstances of this offense. If I release you today, sir, will you promise to appear at a date that I give you in the future at Sarita Court?
Yes, ma'am.
And the other condition of your release is that you not go anywhere near Miss Nelson. You can't have any contact with her. Do you understand that?
It's fine.
All right. Based on that, I will release you on your promise to appear. You are not to commit any further acts of domestic violence. You are not to have any contact with the victim in this case, who is Miss Nelson. Do not go where she's living or where she's working. Your next court hearing is going to be January 7th, 2025 at 8:30 in the morning at Sarita Municipal Court. You do need to appear at that date and time. If you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand that, Mr. Collins? All right. When you get released later today, you're going to have paperwork that will have the court date and time that I just gave you. Make sure you get that before you leave, okay? You're all done for today.
Thank you.
Enriquez. Have a seat there, please.
Hi, tell me your name.
Joseph Enriquez.
Just pulling up your paperwork. Give me just 1 second. All right, Mr. Enriquez, you are here today on felony charges of possession of a dangerous drug and possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this felony case. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of this hearing here today. It looks like you have other felony charges going on. So regardless of what we do here today, it looks like you are being held on something else. The other thing I need to tell you, sir, is that you may be eligible to participate for these charges in a substance abuse treatment court. I don't know what else you're in jail for right now, but if the state determines that you're eligible to participate in that program, if you agree to go to substance abuse treatment, inpatient or outpatient, and you stay in contact with pretrial services, if you get released, you could have the opportunity to have these fully be filed. So is that something you think you're interested in participating in?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So with that, I need to give you a hearing date next week. So on December 26th at 9 o'clock in the morning is the substance abuse treatment court hearing. So if you're still in custody, you'll be transported to the hearing. It'll be in front of Judge Hampson. There you'll meet with your attorney. You'll also have pretrial services there, and there'll be treatment providers from the community in the courtroom as well. And they can talk with you about your eligibility and what will be involved in the program. If you're not eligible, you likely won't be transported for that hearing. All right?
Yeah.
So with that, counsel, I am inclined to set a $2,000 bond on this case and release to pretrial services if he posts. State, do you have any other input?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Full?
Nothing from us, Your Honor.
Okay. So, sir, you will have a $2,000 bond on this matter. It's going to be cash or secured. You'll post, if you post the bond and you get your other matter resolved, then you'll be released to pretrial. You have to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You can't have any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms or weapons. Because you're staying in custody, we're not going to waive time for the preliminary hearing. So the next date after that 26th date for your substance abuse treatment court hearing is going to be the preliminary hearing. That's going to be on December 30th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That hearing may or may not occur, but you're going to be responsible for all future hearings. If you remain in custody, you'll be transported, but if you get released, it's going to be important for you to stay in contact with your attorney so you don't miss any court dates, or they'll issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand all your conditions of release?
Yes.
And do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes.
All right, you're all done for today.
Okay.
Mr. Munoz.
Hi, sir. Tell me your name.
Juan Carlos Muñoz Garcia.
Mr. Munoz Garcia. So you're here on, it looks like just the review hearing out of Navajo County Superior Court. You have something else here in Pima County going on?
Yes, I'm set to go to trial in February.
Okay. So as long as you're staying in custody here, we're going to continue to set review hearings about once a month. So you'll be brought down for this kind of a hearing until that other case gets resolved. Once your Pima County case gets resolved, then the jail's going to notify Navajo County Superior Court on your other matter. So there is a bond in that case that you're being held on. I'm just going to affirm that here today. And then we're going to set another review hearing date for you, January 20th at 9 a.m. And then we'll do this again just to see if anything has changed and whether or not you're going to remain in Pima County.
Okay,
Do you understand that?
yes.
Okay. Let me make sure
Thank you.
there's nothing else.
Estimator. Don't go another protection, I've seen on check. That's what it's here? No, it doesn't. Where is it? Oh, this one, around the break partition, that's.
Hi, sir. Tell me your name.
Fernando Alonso.
Mr. Alonzo, you are here today on 2 counts of DV disorderly conduct. They are misdemeanor offenses. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. This is the time for your initial appearance where we're going to discuss conditions of release. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. Looks like they were able to speak with your parents who are the victims in this case. They are present on the phone. We have your father, I think, so I'm going to hear from him in a moment. Mr. Alonzo, are you on the phone? If you can't hear me, sir, try hitting *6 to unmute your phone so that you can speak. Mr. Alonzo, are you there?
Hi.
Hi. I can hear you. Mr. Alonzo, I did see that you and your wife spoke with pretrial services. You indicated that there weren't any injuries, that the defendant does live with you, your son, and that he is welcome to return. You're okay with future contact with him. Is that still the circumstance?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want the court to know for conditions of release? I am going to release him today.
It's my heart find all those little bottles of vodka every day in the backyard and the backyard, and it's not stable mentally. I think he needs professional help. If there's a possibility for him to move to a court order COP, so he can go to rehab. If I know if he goes to rehab, I know he's gonna be in much better condition. And that's all I'm asking, because otherwise, I know he's gonna continue to drink every day, and it's just not gonna stop. And I just don't want it. I don't want it to get worse. We've been fighting this for 4 years now, and yeah, I just want him to say yes. I need the help. Let's go to rehab. That's my request.
So, Mr. Alonzo, the only thing this court has, sorry, sir, the only thing this court has the ability to do today is set release conditions. I won't have the ability to order him to go into court order treatment. I can order him not to have contact with you and your wife. I can order him not to return to the residence, and he would have to find an alternative place to live or reside. Those are the kinds of things I can order here today. There's going to be a hearing later on this case on January 17th. And you can talk with the prosecutor's office and the court. I'll also talk with your son about some resources today. Maybe in light of what it is that you've said, he will stop by the transition center, which has a variety of resources here in Tucson that may be able to assist him. Okay. So, and are you still okay with him coming back to the house, or do you want me to order him not to have contact with you guys?
No. Giving up, I know convince him to say yes. He needs help, professional help. So
So,
we're gonna keep fighting to help him.
your son is very lucky that you and your wife are continuing to support him in this effort. And what is a real struggle, Mr. Alonzo, is that it has to be your son's choice ultimately to get this together. There's only so much you can do. And when you say convince him, it's got to be something that he has to want to do. So I do hope that he has taken to heart the things that you've said today, especially given where he's sitting, and maybe he'll make some choices to turn that part of his life around. So Thank you, Mr. Alonzo. I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I am going to release you today, Fernando, on your own recognizance. You are to commit no further acts of domestic violence. You heard what your dad had to say. Your next hearing is going to be January 17th, 2025 at 10:30 in the morning. That's going to be at Pima County Justice Court. You do need to appear at that date and time for that hearing, or they're going to issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes.
So when you get released later today, I don't know if your parents are going to pick you up or how you're getting home. There is the transition center, which is adjacent to the jail. It's a trailer that's on the property. If you go to the transition center, they are connected with a lot of resources here in the community. Your mom or dad could go with you into the transition center and you guys could talk about services in the community that may be able to assist you with any kind of substance abuse, housing. There's residential services, outpatient services, any number of services that would be available to assist you. So I would encourage you to stop by there. All right?
Thank you so much.
We're all done.
Bennett?
Have a seat out there.
Hi, tell me your name.
Ryan Bennett.
Your middle name, Christopher?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You are here today on charges out of Sarita Municipal Court for domestic violence, assault, and disorderly conduct. You do have the right to remain silent on these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services on these charges. It looks like the victim in this case is your stepfather. We do have him on the line, so I'm going to hear from him in just a minute to get his input. This is the time for us to set conditions of release for you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Weaver, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
All right. So, sir, I do see that you had a chance to speak with pretrial services. It looks like you're going to stay at the residence and you're fine with Ryan coming home. Is that still the case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And again, this is the time for conditions of release. Is there anything else that you would like the court to know?
I would just like to say that, I don't want to go forward with pressing charges or anything. And I just want him back and just want to move forward.
So, Mr. Weaver, what I will tell you is that it is the state. In this case, it would be the Sarita prosecutor's office down there. They're the people that go forward with charges. So this isn't, I know sometimes people have, the idea that when you're a victim in the case, you can say, I don't want things to go forward, and then it automatically gets dismissed. The prosecutor's office will listen to your input and you can talk with them, but that's not how it works at this point.
Yeah.
All right. So, Ryan, if I release you today, there's going to be a couple of conditions. You are not to commit any further acts of domestic violence. It sounds like you're going to be allowed to go stay with your stepfather again, but no acts of domestic violence going forward. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to release you on your promise to appear. The next court date for you is going to be January 7th, 2025 at 8:30 in the morning, and that's going to be at Sarita Municipal Court. When you get released later today, you're going to get a copy of your paperwork, and it's going to have the information about where you need to be and the date and time that I just gave you. You do need to appear. If you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're all done for today. Thank you for calling in, Mr. Weaver.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Harper?
Hi, tell me your name.
Oh, Harper.
Ms. Harper, you are here today on a warrant out of Pima County Justice Court for trespass. Looks like that's from 2019. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. If I release you today, Miss Harper, will you promise to show up at a court date that I give you?
Yes.
right. I do note that general delivery was the address you provided to the jail. Are those still your circumstances? Or do you have an address?
I do not have an address. I am currently on DOC warrant.
You are, so you're going to be held on that. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do,
I think I have like 4.5 months left to serve.
how much time?
4.5 months.
Okay. Rather than releasing you on this case, we're gonna go ahead and have you seen. If the DOC hold is in place anyway, then what I'll do is, I'm gonna implement a bond in this case of $100, cash or secured. And then I'm going to appoint an attorney for you in justice court, and we're gonna set a hearing for you tomorrow. And that's going to be via video, much like what you're doing here today.
Uh,
Let me just get this paperwork entered in here. The attorney that I'm appointing you is going to be Anna Dennis. And your hearing is going to be tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's going to be via video, like I said, much like what you're doing here today. And then that will help get this justice court matter resolved and over with, so that whenever you finish your time in DOC, this matter will be taken care of.
okay.
Right? If for some reason you do get released, I don't anticipate that will happen. Just make sure you just don't go back to that incident location where the criminal trespass occurred, okay?
Okay.
All right, so you'll be seen via video tomorrow. You're all done? Hi, tell me your name. Miss Hefner, you are here today on a warrant out of Marana Municipal Court, and that's for shoplifting. It's like the offense occurred way back in 2019.
Yeah, I thought I had it taken care of already.
Okay. I have an address for you on West Lee Street. Is that still a good address for you?
Yep.
If I release you today, I'm going to give you a court date in January, and you must go to that date. Will you promise to do that if I release you today?
I do. I promise.
I'm going to release you on your promise to appear. You are not to have any contact with the victims, and those are the folks at the incident location where the shoplifting occurred. Just don't go back there. Your next hearing at Marana City Court is going to be January 29th, 2025 at 10 o'clock in the morning. You do need to appear at that date and time. If you fail to appear, they're going to issue another warrant for your arrest. Make sure you show up, okay?
I will. Thank you.
We're all done.
Ms. Hernandez?
Hi, tell me your name.
Nicole Hernandez.
Ms. Hernandez, you are here on a few warrants out of Justice Court and also warrants out of Tucson City Court. The Justice Court warrants today involve possession of drug paraphernalia, shoplifting, criminal trespass. The City Court charges involved shoplifting, paraphernalia, and trespass as well. You do have the right to remain silent on all of those charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I have an address for you on North First Avenue. Is that still a good address for you?
Yes. Yes.
So it looks like these matters actually stem back to 2023. Ms. Hernandez, these cases are not going to go away. If I release you today, will you promise to show up and get them taken care of?
Yes.
I'm going to give you 2 separate court dates, and you have to go to each one of those so that you can get this stuff resolved. All right?
Okay. Yes.
So on the misdemeanor matters in justice court, you're going to be released on your promise to appear. Your next hearing is February 6th at 9 o'clock in the morning, and that's going to be at Pima County Justice Court. You are not to return to any of the incident locations where the shopliftings occurred or have any contact with the victims there. Do you understand?
Yes.
We need to talk about your city court cases. I am going to release you on your city court matters. Your next hearing there is going to be January 22nd at 9 o'clock in the morning in front of Judge Mayhew. Same thing, don't go back to the incident locations wherever the shopliftings and criminal trespasses occurred. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If you fail to appear again at any of the hearing dates that I gave you today, they're going to issue warrants for your arrest. Do you understand those consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes.
You're all done for today, Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you.
Ms. Richie?
Hi, tell me your name.
Jessica Richie?
Miss Richie, you are here today on a warrant out of Moreno City Court for shoplifting. Looks like the incident happened back in 2021. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I have an address for you on East Paulette Circle. Is that still a good address for you?
Yes.
If I release you on this today, will you promise to go to Moreno City Court and get this matter taken care of?
Yeah.
All right, it's not going to go away, Miss Richie. You've got to show up at court, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to release you on your promise to appear. You are not to return to the incident location where the shoplifting happened. Victims are there and you can't have contact with them. Your next court date is January 29th, 2025 at 10 o'clock in the morning. That is going to be at Moreno City Court. If you fail to appear, they're going to issue another warrant for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you're all done for today.
Thank you.
Mr. Beers?
All right, it is, yeah. Hi, tell me your name.
Elijah Villa.
All right, and jail, just to confirm, it was Miss Stewart that's at court this morning that we're kicking to tonight, right? All right, Mr. Villa, you are here today on charges of domestic violence, disorderly conduct, and domestic violence assault. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I've had the opportunity to review information that's provided to me by pretrial services on this matter. Looks like the victim in this case is your girlfriend. If I release you on these charges today, Mr. Villa, you have to promise to appear at a court date that I give you, and you also are not going to be allowed to have any contact with Miss Vasquez. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Are you willing to do that? Not have any contact with her?
Yes.
Great. I'm going to release you on your promise to appear. Again, your conditions of release: do not commit any acts of domestic violence, and you are not to have any contact with Miss Vasquez. Do not go anywhere near where she's living or working. Your next hearing is going to be January 17th, 2025 at 10:30. That's going to be at Pima County Justice Court. You do need to appear at that date and time. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes.
Right, you're all done for today.
Thank you.
Mr. Castillo?
Hi, sir. Tell me your name.
Castillo Amy Michael.
Sir, you are here on many Tucson City Court cases and warrants that have been issued for your arrest on charges. Okay. Criminal trespass, indecent exposure, criminal damage, reckless burning. Okay, so today we're here to talk about your conditions of release on these warrants. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I am going to impose a bond today, sir, of $500 cash. If you're able to post that bond, you're not to have any contact with the victims and do not return to any of the incident locations. I'm appointing the City Public Defender's Office to represent you. Your next hearing is going to be a video review hearing on December 27th at 1:45 in front of Judge Maldonado. If you are still in custody, I'm sorry? You're not going anywhere unless you post a $500 cash bond. So if you're still in custody on December 27th, then the jail will have you appear via video, just like you're doing here today. If you do post that bond, that $500 cash bond, then you need to appear in city court on January 27th at 9 o'clock in the morning. Do you understand all those conditions of release?
Yes.
And if you fail to appear at the dates that I gave you, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand that as well?
I'll be incarcerated.
You're all done.
Right.
Celebrities.
Hi, tell me your full name.
Nicholas William Leverance.
Mr. Leverins, you are here today on a couple of different matters. Actually, it's just the city court matter, but it looks like you have some felony matters that are also pending.
What was your last name?
Leverance.
So today is the time for your initial appearance on some misdemeanor domestic violence charges, disorderly conduct, and threats and intimidation. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I've had the chance to review information provided by pretrial services. It does look like you are being held on other matters, and there is a probation violation warrant out of Pima County Superior Court in a 2019 case. So regardless of what I do on this hearing today, you're going to be held on those other charges. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and it looks like we do have the victim of this incident is on the phone, and there's information she would like to provide. It looks like she got disconnected. So Ms. Sanchez is going to be joining us here in just a minute. We're waiting for her to get reconnected. Ms. Sanchez, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Sanchez,
Yeah, can you hear me?
yes, we're here today to talk about
Yes.
conditions of release for Mr. Leverins. I don't know if you heard, regardless of what I do here today,
Yep.
he has other holds on
Uh-huh.
other felony matters. So he won't be
Okay.
he won't be released today on these charges. I've had a chance to review information provided by pretrial services. It looks like you spoke with someone there and you are going to stay
Yeah.
at the house, but you do not want contact with him. Is that still your position?
Yes, and he's also banned from coming back because we live in public housing, so he's banned from coming back. So he can't even come back to his
Okay.
from his residence.
Okay.
And I'm going to get a restraining order against him too.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want the court to know? Not about what happened in this case. The only thing we're here to talk about is his conditions of release.
Okay.
All right?
Right. No, that's, no. I can't think of anything else. I just don't want him back here. Yeah.
He won't be able to have.
And no contact.
Right. No contact. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Leverance.
Okay.
I know that you're being held, like I said, on other matters for felony and perhaps even probation. I am going to release you on the city court day in jail until those other things get resolved. I am going to order that you not have any contact of any kind with Miss Sanchez. Do not go to where she's living. Do not go to where she's working. That applies to you while you are in custody at the Pima County Jail. You may be given access to phone calls, emails, tablets, other kinds of communication. You are not to have any contact with her at all. Do you understand those conditions of release?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to set what's called a non-transport review hearing for you on January 21st of 2025 at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's going to be in front of Judge Millian, and that will be through Tucson City Court. If you find that you're still in custody on your other matters, then you're going to be seen via video, much like you're doing here today. If you do get released, you have to appear on January 21st at 1:30 at Tucson City Court. Do you understand all of that?
Yes.
And if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand that as well?
Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you for calling in, Ms. Sanchez. We are all done for today.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
excused, Mr. Leverance.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, tell me your full name.
Your Honor, I think you need the Swahili translator.
So I don't think we have the interpreter yet for him. They were dealing with Superior Court matters, and I think we were going to try to do him later on. So we'll have to set him back for a little bit until we can get that interpreter here.
Yes, Judge, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Or
That's the change.
And Your Honor, while we're waiting, this is the interpreter standing by. We should be coming close to the Spanish speaker.
We should be, yes.
Thank you.
I was trying out a new court issued headset, Your Honor. Are you able to hear me okay?
I am. It actually sounds much better than the quality we've had before, so it's good. Hi, tell me your full name.
Jason Andrew Herford.
Mr. Herford, you are here today on multiple charges. The attorney sitting next to you, Ms. Vold, do you have a screen so he can see the charge? Katie? Yes.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. What was that?
Do you have a screen so that he can look at the charges? This is Mr. Herford.
Yes, let me just pull it up.
So once you see the nature of the charge, sir, there are 10 counts of that charge that you're being seen for today. This is the time for your initial appearance on those 10 charges.
All right, I'm just looking for it. Right here.
Thank you, Ms. Vol. So, sir, that is the charge, and there are 10 counts for that charge that you're being seen for today. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney on these matters. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services to the court that tells me a little bit about you and the circumstances here today. I've also had a chance to review the state's recommendation as to your conditions of release. It looks like the state is recommending a $250,000 bond at this time. And Mr. Poston, I've obviously read the interim. I'm familiar with the nature of the offenses. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
The sheer volume of what was found, Your Honor. The fact that each one, in theory, could be another charge. This person is a danger to the community. This person provides impetus for an industry that is absolutely atrocious to continue. The state stands firm on the fact that this person poses a danger, poses a flight risk, mandatory prison time is a given, and there is no out of custody situation I can see that would stop him. $250,000, Your Honor.
Ms. Vol.
So, Your Honor, Mr. Herford has let me know that so the way that he supports himself is he has mental disabilities and he receives payments. Is it SSI for that? SSDI for that. He has therapy every day. He'd like to continue his services. I'll point out that he was a 1 on the scale, on the pretrial services scale. There's also, he's 46 years old. He has no priors. And the court could impose conditions which protect the community, such as not allowing him to have access to phones or electronics.
Your Honor,
Mr. Poston.
the state has no idea how this person can be watched 24/7 to keep him away from electronics. Furthermore, the fact that he has daily therapy is not a reason to allow his presence in the community, which does in and of itself.
I'm sorry, Mr. Poston. I'm going to set a bond. So I understand that you want to rebut what Ms. Vol had to say, but I am going to set a bond in this case.
Thank you, Your Honor. State submits on its previous statements, $250,000.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I am going to impose a bond of $200,000. It is going to be cash or secured. If you're able to post that bond, Mr. Herford, then you'd be released to pretrial services. You will be ordered to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms. You also are not allowed to have any contact with minors should you get released. Your next hearing in this case is going to be December 30th, 2024 at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're going to be responsible for showing up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant will issue for your arrest. If you stay in custody, the jail will transport you to your next hearing. But if you do postpone and get released, it's important that you stay in contact with your attorney so that you don't miss any future court dates. Do you understand your conditions of release?
Yes.
And
Your Honor, can you please repeat the court date?
the 30th.
Thank you.
Where's that at?
And Mr. Herford, do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear, that a warrant could be issued for your arrest?
Absolutely.
You are all done for today.
So you're gonna have an attorney appointed right away. She tried to change this. So this is
Here's the guy.
it should be like a few days. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Hi, tell me your name.
Namely Warlo.
All right, Mr. Warlo. So you are here for a review hearing on, it looks like a warrant out of state. It looks like there is a $5,000 cash bond that is in place for that warrant. And you also have some matters that are still pending here in Pima County. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
What's the status of that?
Tomorrow I accept the plea deal, then moving on with sentencing next month.
Okay. So what we're gonna do, Mr. Warlo, is set another review hearing on your out-of-state matter for January 20th at 9 o'clock in the morning. So the same thing we're doing here today, we'll do again and kind of check in on where your Pima County matters are. Once your Pima County matters get resolved, the jail will notify the out-of-state jurisdiction, or Maricopa County. I keep saying out-of-state, it's out of county. They'll notify Maricopa County, and Maricopa County can decide if they're going to come get you on that.
All right, Your Honor.
Right? We just want to make sure that you aren't sitting here in the Pima County Jail. So your next review hearing date is January 20th at 9 a.m.
All right, Your Honor. Thank you.
We're all done for today.
Thank you, sir. Done. Partition absolute tension.
Hi, tell me your name.
Shawnee Staten.
Mr. Staten, you were here today on a possession of a narcotic drug charge It does look like the state is moving to dismiss this case at this time. That will be without prejudice. Is that right, Mr. Poston?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Staton, what that means is you'll be released. The charges are not going forward at this time. Doesn't mean that the state couldn't file them in the future, okay? So you're all done for today.
Please.
Hi, tell me your name.
Hola, dígame su nombre.
Sergio.
Sergio,
I need your full name.
su nombre completo.
Sergio Alan Heredia Ruiz.
Sergio Alan Heredia Ruiz.
You are here today for an initial appearance on felony charges involving possession of a dangerous drug for sale, possession of a dangerous drug, transportation of a dangerous drug.
Se encuentra usted bajo cargos en la comparecencia inicial por acusaciones de tenencia de droga narcótica para la venta, tenencia de droga peligrosa y de tenencia de droga narcótica.
You are also here on a warrant out of Nevada for drug-related charges.
También se encuentra detenido aquí por órdenes de aprehensión del estado de Nevada, también por cargos adicionales de tenencia de droga.
You do have the right to remain silent on all of these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Tiene usted derecho a guardar silencio ante todos los cargos. Cualquier cosa que diga podrá y será usada en contra suya.
You do have the right to an attorney here on the local felony charges. I'm going to appoint the legal defender's office to represent you, and you have an attorney seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today.
Tiene usted derecho a tener representación del abogado por las acusaciones de delitos graves aquí localmente. Vamos a designar al abogado. Vamos a designar a los abogados de la oficina del defensor legal para que le presente y tiene a su lado el día de hoy a un representante de su oficina.
I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services, which tells me a little bit about you and the offenses in this case.
He tenido oportunidad de revisar información que se me ha apartado por la Agencia de Servicios Preprocesales que me comunica datos suyos y del caso pendiente.
It looks like the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency does have a hold on you. So no matter what happens here today, you're not going to be released until that situation gets resolved.
También parece que el Departamento de Inmigración tiene orden vigente de detención en contra suya. Así, no obstante, lo que se haga aquí no va a ser excarcelado hasta que se resuelva el asunto pendiente con ellos.
I've had the chance to review information provided by the state in this case as to conditions of release, and they're asking that you be held without bond. Is that the request, Mr. Poston?
It is, Your Honor. He is wanted on a warrant out of Nevada for remarkably similar charges. He was stopped with allegedly over 2 pounds of methamphetamine and over an ounce of heroin. And he was a fugitive out of one state and has an ICE hold and also has the current allegations. Based on my read of 1338-56, Your Honor, he qualifies for the no bond.
Ahora, la juez dice que la fiscalía pide que se le prohíba cualquier tipo de fianza. Le pregunta al fiscal que está presente que si sigue pensando igual. Dice que sí. El que tiene dice que usted es prófugo del estado de Nevada por cargos iguales y parecidos. Que aquí se le detuvo con tenencia de 2 libras de metanfetamina, 1 onza de heroína a la vez. Es prófugo y tiene cargos nuevos, orden de detención de migración. Y según su lectura de la ley 133856, reúne las disposiciones para que se le niegue cualquier fianza.
Because you are on release for another felony matter, the state has the ability to ask that you be held without bond, and the court has to honor that request and give.
So, Your Honor,
Hang on, Ms. Full.
sorry.
Go ahead.
So
Ahora,
with the on release, so I just don't know where he's at procedurally in that other case. It's my understanding that if somebody hasn't been arraigned, then they're not on release.
So it's sentencing. He skipped
Okay.
and they issued a warrant at the
Okay.
time of sentencing. So that's why
Thank you.
it's eligible. I'm sorry,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Sorry, Mr. Davis. Go ahead with all of that.
Dice que usted ha estado librado de delitos mayores, la fiscalía puede pedir que se le tenga sin concederle fianza y la juez no tiene otra opción menos de honrar esa petición. Ahora la abogada defensora interrumpió diciendo que si aún no se le ha hecho la lectura de cargos en aquel caso pendiente, posiblemente no cumpla con los necesarios requisitos de tenérsele sin fianza. Pero la juez dice es que si no está ausente, no está presente para recibir su condena después de la determinación de culpable, es cuando se le impone esa detención. Ella se disculpa y la juez procederá a lo siguiente. Go ahead, Your Honor.
So because the state has asked that you be held without bond, that's going to be the court's order today. And we're going to set a hearing for you on December 23rd at 2:30 in the afternoon. And that's when you'll find out if the no bond will stay in effect or if a bond will be set on this case.
Ahora, lo que voy a hacer es ordenar que se le tenga sin fianza. Y el día de hoy vamos a tener una audiencia el 23 de diciembre a las 2:30 por la tarde para establecer en ese día si se le concede la fianza o si se le niega.
Your attorney from the Legal Defender's Office will be in contact with you before that hearing on December 23rd.
El abogado que se le designa de la oficina del defensor legal ya estará en contacto con usted antes de la audiencia que se pacta para el día 23 de diciembre.
The next hearing date for the drug charges that you're being seen for today is going to be December 30th, 2024 at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you are responsible for showing up at all future court dates or a warrant could issue for your arrest.
Ahora, la próxima comparecencia en los cargos de tenencia de drogas se pacta para el 30 de diciembre a la 1:30 por la tarde y esa audiencia podrá o no llevarse a cabo, pero usted es responsable por atender cualquier audiencia que se pacte en el futuro en este caso.
Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
¿Entiende las consecuencias de no presentarse a las comparecencias, señor?
I need you to answer out loud.
Tiene que responder en voz alta. ¿Entiende las consecuencias de no presentarse?
Sí, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We need to talk about your warrant out of Las Vegas as well.
También tenemos que hablar de la orden de aprehensión de Las Vegas. Espere.
It does look like there is a no bail request on that as well. So you will be seen on December 23rd at 2:30 on that warrant.
Parece ser que el estado de Nevada pide que se le niegue cualquier fianza en ese caso, así es que lo van a ver el día 23 de diciembre a las 2:30 también para atender ese caso.
Do you understand that?
¿Entiende, señor?
Sí, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's all for today.
Bien, es todo por hoy. Puede retirarse.
Thank you,
The
Ms.
interpreter be excused, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
Sí.
Valerie, you going to stand up?
Okay, so I just need to. Thank you so much.
This
I need to for something to make it go away.
What was her name?
Hi,
Hello,
hi, tell me your name.
Andrews, Fred Andrews.
Your middle name, William?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you are here today on, looks like a couple of different matters. There is a warrant out of Maricopa County on multiple counts involving a fraud scheme and false statements to obtain benefits. We'll talk about that in a minute. Here today on felony drug charges involving possession of a narcotic drug, possession of a dangerous drug, and drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent on those charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney. I'm going to appoint the legal defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. We're here to talk about your conditions of release. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services on this matter. I've also had a chance to review the state's recommendation. It does look like there is a $1,000 bond amount listed on your warrant out of Maricopa County Superior Court. Here in Tucson on the drug charges, you might be eligible to participate in a substance abuse treatment court program. What that would mean if you wanted to participate is that if you successfully completed inpatient or outpatient substance abuse treatment and stayed in contact with pretrial services if you're released, then the felony charges in this case wouldn't go forward if you successfully completed all of the program requirements. Is that something that you're interested in participating in?
Yes, I am.
All right. So with that, I'm going to give you a hearing date for that. And it's going to be December 26th at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's going to be in Pima County Superior Court on the 3rd floor. And you're going to see Judge Hampson. All right. Counsel, I have had the opportunity to review the warrant out of Maricopa County, reviewed all of the information. I am inclined to release him to pretrial services today and also release him on the Maricopa case and order him to contact Maricopa to get that resolved. Does anyone want to be heard further?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
So Mr. Andrews, I'm going to release you today to pretrial services. You're going to have to stay in contact with that agency, participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to have any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any guns while this case is going on. Do you understand all of that?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Are we willing to waive time for the preliminary hearing, Ms. Full?
Yes.
So what I just asked your attorney, Mr. Andrews, is normally the state would have 20 days to file charges. But because we're going to see if you're eligible to participate in the substance abuse treatment court, we're going to give them about 45 days so we can see whether or not you're eligible. All right.
Okay.
So the next hearing date I'm going to give you, and really the most important thing, I can't stress this enough, Mr. Andrews, is that 12/26 date at 9 o'clock. When you go to that hearing in Superior Court, you're going to have your attorney there from the legal defender's office. They're going to be treatment providers from the community, so you can sign up right then and there to get those services if you decide that you want to participate. And pretrial services will be there as well. So that will be your opportunity to sign up and really get a feel for what that program's going to be. And if you successfully complete, these charges won't go forward. If for some reason you don't qualify or you decide you don't want to participate, the next hearing date is going to be February 3rd, 2025 at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're going to be responsible for showing up at all future court dates. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes, I do.
Right. On your Maricopa County warrant, again, multiple charges. It looks like they're all class 6 felonies. You do need to contact Maricopa County Superior Court. I am going to release you on the Maricopa County case. When you get released, you're going to get a copy of your paperwork. That has the Maricopa County Superior Court phone number on it, and you need to call them so that you can get a court date and get that matter taken care of.
All right, I will.
All right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You are all done for today. Hi, tell me your name.
Oscar Rene Cono.
Mr. Cono, you are here today on charges of possession of narcotic drug, being a prohibited possessor, and possession of a firearm, possession of a stolen vehicle, and theft of means of transportation. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. Jail, do we note any holds Looks like he was on probation.
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Right. So I've had a chance to review information provided by pretrial services on your case, sir. I've also had a chance to review the state's recommendation. It looks like they are asking for a no bond hold based on your release in another case from December 10th to pretrial services. I don't know what the status of that case is, Mr. Poston.
Your Honor, checking. Your Honor, while I look at this
Today, yes,
in the
Your Honor.
in the alternative, if this person doesn't qualify for the on release, no bond hold, he was found pursuant to search warrant with up to approximately 2,030s, 5,000 in cash, as well as 3 firearms, and that to the state reflects a danger to society. It looks like he's stealing, and there was a stolen vehicle on the property as well. Looking at the defendant's history, Your Honor, he was released on 12/10 under possession of a narcotic drug. So he's on release. State stands by its original recommendation asking for no bond under Article 2, Section 22A2.
I just want to make sure that case hasn't been dismissed. Mr.
Not to my
Poston.
knowledge, Your Honor. I'm looking at it right now. It's, in theory, he should have gone to. Yeah, it has not been dismissed, Your Honor. It is a valid case on which he is on release.
So what I'm seeing is, and what he's telling me is he had a court date today, the smart court date. So it's my understanding that the on release allegation, it's only if somebody's been arraigned. So he's still pre-arraignment on that case. So I don't know that the court can hold him without bond on a on a diversion case where he hasn't been arraigned. I don't know that that qualifies as on release.
And he was arraigned on 12/11.
Okay. That's when his IA was.
Today, at 9 o'clock.
And then his smart court hearing was supposed to be today.
At 9 o'clock.
He was released at pretrial on the 11th, which qualifies as being on release for purposes of the no bond.
So I've dealt with this before in just calculating sentencing exposure. And when somebody is pre-indictment, they're not on release for purposes of sentencing exposure. I don't know if it's different for on release. I can look at the statute more carefully right now.
Your Honor, state submits on its arguments to this point.
The 18th, that's when I had to go. At 9 o'clock.
Read through the statute, Your Honor. But that's my understanding of what on release is. It's that it's post arraignment.
I'm looking, hang on. I think he is on release for a felony drug charge, even though it has not been arraigned. He did have an initial appearance. He was notified that he was on release to pretrial services. I get that he was supposed to have had his SMART hearing today. I'm going to guess that he's not eligible, which is why he wasn't transported and why he's here and not there. If he had been eligible to participate in that SMART court hearing, he would have been transported. So I am going to honor the state's request at this time and hold him without bond. That means that there will be a hearing on December 23rd at 2:30. And then obviously everyone will have an opportunity to weigh in and decide whether a bond is going to be set or not at that time. So
And it's over our objection, Your Honor. I don't believe that it is considered on release from research I've done previously. And I'll just pass that along to his attorney.
yeah, and he'll have the hearing on the 23rd and the judge can decide or the state can decide that they're going to withdraw it. But at this time, given just what I have, I am going to hold him without bond. All right. So, Mr. Cono, basically we have to hold you without bond at the state's request. As you've heard, your hearing is going to be December 23rd at 2:30. And at that time, you will have a hearing to determine whether or not you're going to continue to be held without bond or if there's going to be a bond that's going to be set. The next hearing after that on the underlying charges is going to be a preliminary hearing. That is going to be December 30th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That hearing may or may not occur, but you are responsible for showing up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. You'll be in custody until the 23rd for that hearing. The jail will transport you for that hearing. But if you do get released, you need to stay in contact with your attorney so that you know all future court dates. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I'll just send you to that.
You are all done for today.
Se corral.
Hi, tell me your name.
Mario Corral.
You are here today on multiple charges involving domestic violence kidnapping, a class 2, domestic violence stalking, and domestic violence aggravated assault, impeding breathing. These are all felonies. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint Brenna Larkin to represent you. You have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing today. We're discussing your conditions of release at this time. I will note, sir, that regardless of what we do here today on this case, you do have a probation hold placed on you. So no matter what conditions of release we set in this case, you are going to be held on that probation matter until it gets resolved. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services in this case. I've also had the chance to review information provided by the state as to your conditions of release. It looks like, Mr. Poston, you're asking for a no bond.
Your Honor, that's an error on my part. Upon further review, he's on pending in misdemeanor DV court in city court, so he wouldn't qualify for the no bond for being on release. That said, we're looking at an NVCA, yes. We're looking at a 4 out of 4 on both scales. We're looking at allegations of strangulation, and the state need not remind the court of what the statistics say about persons accused of intimate partner violence, including strangulation. The state would consider him a flight risk because prior convictions, as well as the likelihood of mandatory prison time. So even withstanding all that, the state would ask for $25,000.
Ms. Hall.
nothing happens.
So, Your Honor, I understand the court will impose a bond because of the probation hold. We ask that the court consider something lower than the 25,000. So Mr. Corral, he does have a full-time job. He's willing to stay away from, his alleged victim. He was on probation. So if he's ever released for any reason, he will have the services and oversight of probation while he's on release.
So I will note that not only was he on probation when this offense was committed, not just on felony probation, but also misdemeanor probation, and has another misdemeanor domestic violence charge pending in city court. This does involve the same victim. I'm imposing a $100,000 cash or secured bond today. If you post that bond, Mr. Corral, then you'll be released to pretrial services. Obviously, you're already on probation as well, so the likelihood is if you do get released on this case, you'll continue to have to be supervised by probation. You will have to report to pretrial services. You are not allowed to have any alcohol or illegal drugs and no firearms while this case is going on. You are not to have any contact with the victim in this case. Do not go to where she's living. Do not go to where she is working. This applies to you while you remain in custody at the Pima County Jail. You are not to have any contact with her. So you may be given access to phones, to emails, to communications, to visits. You are ordered to have no contact. Do you understand all of those conditions of release?
Yes.
Your next hearing is December 30th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you will be expected to show up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant will issue for your arrest. If you stay in custody, the jail will transport you to your next hearing. If you do post bond and get released, it's your responsibility to stay in contact with your attorney so you're aware of any date changes. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes.
You're all done.
Your Honor, who is appointed to Brenna Larkin? I have it now. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
This.
So that's your next court date. This court date shall be not actually gonna happen. Your attorney should be in touch with you soon. If they don't get in touch with you, contact her, okay?
There's some straight away.
That's when you'll know if you're indicted by, and then they'll set up arraignment.
But I might not go to that.
You're probably not gonna go that way. Okay, but she'll be able to talk to you once it's
They're bothering now,
it's on.
but they're still.
You have a probation, yes.
So even if, yeah. Sparico?
Hi, ma'am. Tell me your name.
Clarissa Frejo.
Ms. Trejo, you are here this morning on charges of theft of means of transportation, narcotic drug possession, burglary in the third degree, and possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney on these matters. I'm appointing the public defender's office, and you have attorneys seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. We're here to talk about your conditions of release. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services that tells me a little bit about you and your circumstances. I've also had a chance to review information provided by the state. Mr. Poston, I'm assuming this is a mistake. You're asking for a no bond, but I don't see anything else pending at this time.
She's FTA'd in the Las Vegas case, Your Honor. And there's a warrant pending on that. So she was on release for failing to appear for the out-of-state case. The way I read the no bond articles, it would apply to
I don't know what
charges incurred even charges incurred in Arizona when the preceding case was out of state while they were on release. In the alternative, Your Honor, the state would move for a $50,000 bond because of the fact that it's both escape, which is a huge red flag for flight risk, as well as the history.
So, Mr. Poston, I see absolutely nothing in the pretrial services record at all saying anything about any kind of case from Vegas. I see nothing on Ms. Brejo. So I don't know what you're looking at, but the court does not have any of that information.
Okay. Your Honor, this may have been information that went over to a different case. I do apologize. Mistakes sometimes will happen. One moment. One moment. They would apologize for the oversight. That was my error. And we are looking at what I'm seeing here, Your Honor, is state apologize for the oversight, would submit on the written record recommending a $10,000 bond.
Ms. Vol, I'm at release to pretrial services. Did you want to be heard?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Frejo, I'm going to release you today to the custody of pretrial services. That means that you must stay in contact with that agency, participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You are not allowed to have any alcohol or illegal drugs and no firearms while this case is going on. You also are not allowed to have any contact with the victims in this case. You are not to go anywhere near the incident locations. Do you understand all those conditions of release?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your next hearing date is January 7th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're responsible for showing up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Because you're going to be out of custody, it's important that you stay in contact with your attorney so that you know if there are any date changes. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, you're all done for today.
And Your Honor, did you say her attorney was the public defender?
Yes.
Thank you.
So if you don't remember, call them and make sure you put all your court dates. This is your next court date, but you don't, that's the one you don't to talk to your attorney about it. They'll give you more information.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Mr. McCain?
Hi, tell me your name.
Harlan McCain.
Mr. McCain, you were here today on a charge of possession of a dangerous drug and possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. Tells me a little bit about you and your circumstances. I've also had a chance to review the recommendation from the state in this case. They're recommending a $5,000 bond. Before I hear from the attorneys, it looks like, Mr. McCain, that you may be eligible to participate in a substance abuse treatment court. What that means is if the state determines that you are eligible, and over the course of the next several days, you could go to a hearing and learn more about that program. At that hearing, you would be able to sign up for services. It's basically a substance abuse treatment program. You can get residential treatment or outpatient treatment if you qualify. You have to stay in touch with pretrial services, and if you successfully complete the terms of the program, the state would not go forward with these 2 felony charges against you. Is that something that you're interested in participating in?
Yes, ma'am. They say they offer an application program?
They do.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And
Absolutely.
so I'm going to set a hearing date for you. And again, I don't know if you're going to be eligible or not, but the hearing date for that substance abuse treatment court is going to be December 26th at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's going to be in front of Judge Hampson at Pima County Superior Court. That will be the time that you need to appear, talk with your attorney. They'll review the information about the program. Service providers from our community and substance abuse will be there, and you can sign up at that time for services if there's someone that you can connect with. So it's really an important hearing if it's something that you want to participate in. And again, you'll find out on that day whether or not you're actually eligible.
Absolutely.
So I do see the state, as I've indicated, is asking for a $5,000 bond. I'm inclined to release him to pretrial services. Mr. Poston, did you want to be heard?
Your Honor.
Ms. Full?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
So Mr. McCain, I'm going to release you to pretrial services today. You're going to have to stay in contact with that agency. You can't possess or consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms while this case is going on. Are we willing to waive time for the preliminary hearing, Ms. Full?
We are.
So what I just asked your attorney, Mr. McCain, is normally the state would have 20 days in which to file charges against you. But because we're going to see if you're eligible to participate in this treatment period, then we're going to give the state 45 days for that indictment if things don't work out in your treatment court. So again, December 26th is the date you need to show up on the 3rd floor. Your next court hearing on this case is going to be February 3rd, 2025 at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're going to be responsible for showing up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Make sure you stay in contact with your attorney. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear, Mr. McCain?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And do you understand all of the conditions of release we've talked about here today?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right, you're all done.
Thank you very much.
So that's what's okay. Just make sure you have to call pretrial and then some attorneys will know.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mitchell. Thank you.
Hi, tell me your name.
Dan Mitchell?
Mr. Mitchell, you are here today on a charge of theft of means of transportation. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing. You're also here on a Tucson City Court case involving interfering with the judicial proceeding. That is a domestic violence offense. It does look like you are on probation. Jail, I'm not showing a hold, are you?
No, Your Honor.
Right. So I've had a chance to review information provided by pretrial services on all of these matters. We're going to set conditions of release today on both your felony case as well as your misdemeanor case. So on the misdemeanor case, it looks like pretrial services. Sir, I need you to listen to me and pay attention, okay?
Sorry.
That's okay. So in reviewing what pretrial services provided to the court, they often talk with victims. So it looks like Ms. Speaks indicated that she was welcome to continue to have contact and you could go home, but she also has an active order of protection. And so if I release you today, you're not going to be able to have any contact with her under this court's order until and unless something changes through Tucson City Court. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You have someplace else that you can stay in the meantime?
Yes. Stay in Tucson.
Okay, but you have someplace.
Another room or like.
Yeah.
Stay with.
I'm at premises.
Okay, so again, I understand she's saying she wants contact, but it's contradictory to the order of protection that's out there, which is the charge that you're facing. So that will have to be worked out through Tucson City Court, okay?
You just have to go there?
I mean,
Or just-
I'm going to give you another court date here in just a minute. We're going to talk about that and when your court date's going to be. I just wanted to talk with you about some conditions on that case. So we'll go back to the city case in a minute. I want to address your felony release conditions. I see that the state is recommending a $5,000 bond. I am inclined to release you to pretrial services. You're going to have to stay in contact with that agency and actually show up to your court hearings. Will you promise to do those things?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Poston, do you want to make a record on your $5,000 bond request?
Your Honor, it was primarily based on the history of FTA and the probation violations, as well as a rather lengthy criminal record, but the state has nothing further.
Ms. Bull?
Your Honor, if the court's inclined to release him, I don't have anything to say.
So, Mr. Mitchell, I'm going to release you to pretrial services today. I know you're also on probation. You need to contact your probation officer today before 5 o'clock. As soon as you get released, you need to contact your PO. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Your additional conditions of release on the felony case, the theft case, is that you're ordered to do whatever pretrial services asks you to do in terms of monitoring or treatment. You're not allowed to have any alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons, do not have any contact with the victims or return to the incident location. Do you understand all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, your next hearing on the felony case is going to be January 7th, 2025 at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur. that you're responsible for showing up to all future court dates, and if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so now I'm going to give you your court date in the city court case. I just have to fill out some paperwork on that one, so give me just a minute. So your next hearing on that case in Tucson City Court is going to be January 21st, 2025 at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's going to be in front of Judge Millian at Tucson City Court. When you get released, you're going to get a copy of your paperwork. I know Ms. Voll's writing the dates down for you, but your paperwork is also going to have the date and time for that hearing.
And Judge, should you say he was represented by the public defender?
Yes,
Thank you.
on the felony case. All right, and the same orders applied in that city court case that we talked about. You can't have any contact with the victim, establish an alternative address until you get some other court order that says you can do something differently. All right, Mr. Mitchell?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and I also need to do an arraignment for you on the Tucson City Court case. So I need to tell you that you're presumed innocent, that I'm entering a not guilty plea on your behalf on that case. And in addition to a warrant being issued if you don't show up for the hearing, that hearing and any subsequently set hearings can go forward in your absence. That includes a trial. If a trial gets set and you get convicted and can't be sentenced within 90 days, you could also lose your right to appeal that case. Do you understand those additional consequences?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you are all done for today.
What's your lawyer? Make sure you keep in contact with them. Make sure you keep in contact with Fintra.
What else?
Okay.
Hi, tell me your name.
Moreno.
Mr. Moreno, you are here today on multiple cases. We have a felony case that involves possession of dangerous drugs, possession of narcotic drugs, and possession of drug paraphernalia. You're also here on Justice Court warrants and a bunch of Tucson City Court cases and warrants. You do have the right to remain silent on all of these matters. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney on the felony matters, and I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you. You have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. We're here to talk about your conditions of release on these charges. I've had an opportunity to review information that pretrial services provided me, tells me a little bit about you and the circumstances of the offense here today. What pretrial services has told me is that you may be eligible to participate in a substance abuse treatment court. What that means is that if you are willing and you attend treatment, inpatient or outpatient for substance abuse, and you stay in contact with pretrial services as directed, then you could graduate from the program if you qualify, and the state will not go forward with these felony drug charges. Is that something that you're interested in?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to give you a court date for that hearing, and that's going to be December 26th at 9:00 in the morning. That is going to be in Pima County Superior Court. On the 3rd floor, you're going to see Judge Hampson. At that time, you'll find out if you are actually eligible to participate in the substance abuse treatment court. You'll also have a chance to meet with your attorney. Pretrial services will be there and substance abuse treatment providers will be there so that they can get you set up for services. If you are still in custody, then the jail will transport you for that hearing. If you get released, you do need to make sure you show up. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So, I know the state is requesting a bond of $5,000. I will tell you that I am inclined to impose a bond on this matter of $2,500, given all the failures to appear and other warrants that have been issued. So does either counsel wish to be heard further on that?
No, Judge.
Your Honor, you're not imposing a bond simply because of the nature of the offense and because he's being placed in a court where he'll have the opportunity for treatment right away.
So the treatment's not going to occur before that hearing, and getting him to that hearing and having him get connected to those services, I'm hoping will be beneficial to you, Mr. Moreno. I have some real concerns about you showing up on your own, given your history of failing to appear and all the warrants from all the other jurisdictions. So I'm going to impose a $2,500 cash or secured bond today. If you post that bond, then you'll be released to pretrial services. As I've said, if you're still in custody, you'll be transported on the 26th. You'll have an opportunity to meet with your attorney. If you sign up for the program at that time, you'll likely be released then. Unless you post the $2,500 bond, you'll stay in custody. And we're going to talk about your other misdemeanor matters as well here in just a second. So your next hearing on the underlying charges is going to be December 30th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're going to be responsible for showing up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand all of the things we just talked about in your felony case, Mr. Moreno?
Yeah.
All right. The warrants out of justice court involve a DUI and a possession of drug paraphernalia. I am going to appoint Carlos Betancourt to represent you on those matters. You're going to have a hearing tomorrow, the 19th at 1 o'clock. That's very likely going to be via video, much like what you're doing here today. I'm going to impose a bond of $100, cash or secured. You're not allowed to drive without a valid license or possess any alcohol or drugs in that case either. And you're also going to be seen on the drug paraphernalia charge at that same time. And Mr. Betancourt's being appointed to represent you in both of those. I don't know when he'll get a hold of you, but he should be at that video hearing with you tomorrow when you appear in front of a justice court judge. All right. Do you understand that, Mr. Moreno?
Yeah.
And then we're going to, that $100 bond is going to be concurrent on your JP matters. Now we need to talk about all of your city court cases. All right, and those involve criminal trespass, drug paraphernalia, a few counts, and assault. All right, so it looks like on this one, one of the cases is closed in Tucson City Court, and it looks like you owe restitution, and it looks like it's been a couple of years, and there's been no restitution payment. And that's, I believe, on the assault charge. So that's something that's not going to go away, sir. It's something that you're going to have to get resolved. Give me just a second. All right, so on your Tucson City Court matters, on these, I am going to release you, so I'm not going to impose a bond on those. and I'm going to give you a non-transport review hearing. So if you get out of custody, and you likely will be out of custody January 22nd at 9:30 in the morning. And that's going to be Tucson City Court. You're going to have to appear at that date and time to get all of your city court matters taken care of. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
All right. And do not return to any incident locations or have any contact with the victims in those matters on those warrants. And I would expect them to talk with you about that restitution matter as well when you show up for that date. But you've got a few different court dates today, sir. You do need to make sure you show up. And if you fail to appear, they're going to keep issuing warrants for your arrest. It'll be a good opportunity for you to get this all taken care of if you qualify for the SMART court, the substance abuse treatment court. Okay? You're all done for today.
So this is your attorneys, you don't hear from them very soon, just go ahead and call them, okay? Thank you.
Rest of the paperwork. Yeah. Thank you. Hi, can you tell me your name?
What? I'm sorry, I'm Jasmine Ravor. This is just release questions.
Ms. Rabator, this is the time for your initial appearance on felony charges of possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of a dangerous drug, possession of a narcotic drug, and promoting prison contraband. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the legal defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. We're here to talk about your conditions of release. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services on your matter. I've also had a chance to review the state's recommendation as to your conditions of release. Looks like the state is asking for a $5,000 bond.
Okay.
Mr. Poston?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant allegedly tried to smuggle in not insignificant amounts of meth and fentanyl into the jail. And considering the ongoing issues with overdoses from illicit substances in the jail, the state feels this is appropriate.
Ms. Vol?
May I still, sorry.
So, Your Honor, I asked the court to release Ms. Rabator. It's level 1 on the pretrial services report. It looks like she doesn't have any prior felony convictions. There's no reason to think that she's a risk to the community or that she's a flight risk, Your Honor.
So I am going to release you to pretrial services today. That means that you have to stay in contact with them. You are not allowed to have any alcohol or illegal drugs. You also can't have any firearms while this case is going on. Do you understand all those conditions of release?
Yes, ma'am.
Your next hearing date is going to be January 7th, 2025 at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're going to be expected to show up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences?
I can't do Wednesdays if it's on a Wednesday, just huge. In fact, I have to do drug court for on Wednesdays.
Are you in DTAP?
No, I'm a raised drug treatment court for CVS.
Okay, so
That's every Wednesday that I have to go.
So here's the thing, the court date is the court date. So you're going to have to get that worked out and talk to your attorney about whatever that is. That preliminary hearing date that I gave you may not happen. So you need to stay in contact with your attorney to make sure that you don't miss court. I'm not going to reschedule that date for you right now. So you're going to have to figure it out and make sure that you talk to your attorney and be responsible for appearing at whatever it is that you've got going on. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear, that a warrant can issue for your arrest?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, you're all done for today.
This is an omission. So then schedule this. This is when you'll know something. So make sure you stay in contact with your lawyer and be tracked every day. Yeah. call them and figure out how else, and you need to come on, so call them, right? And that way you don't. Yeah, or that. Okay, thank you.
Reese.
Hi, tell me your name.
Reese,
Miss Reese, you are here today, or you were here today on charges of possession of a dangerous drug and drug paraphernalia. The information provided by the state is that they are going to dismiss those charges. It does look like you have a felony hold on another matter. So first, Mr. Poston, do you intend to dismiss these charges?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so the state's motion to dismiss is without prejudice. Ms. Reese, what that means is that the drug charges are not going to be a factor for you today, so you'll be released on those. The state could go forward with those in the future. Jail, it does look like she has another hold. Is that right, out of Superior Court?
Yes, Your Honor.
So Ms. Reese, you're not going to be released today until that other felony matter gets resolved in Pima County Superior Court, okay? You're all done.
Sabori.
Hi, tell me your name.
Jose Sabori.
Mr. Sabori, you are here today on a charge of unlawfully discharging a firearm and endangerment. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services on this case. I've also had a chance to review the state's recommendation as to your conditions of release. That's what we're here to talk about today, is your conditions of release. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. The public defender's office is being appointed today to represent you. You do have the right to an attorney. You have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. Mr. Poston, did you want to be heard on bond?
Your Honor, this person is alleged to have discharged a pistol multiple times within the neighborhood, thereby endangering the community. It goes without saying that Arizona has laws that pertain not only to negligent discharge, but also there is the pure fact of physics that what goes up must come down. He could have killed somebody, Your Honor. $10,000.
Ms. Voll, I'm inclined to release him to pretrial. He's not going to be able to have any guns, and he's going to have to surrender any guns that he has.
No argument, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Sabori, what that means is I'm going to release you to pretrial services today. You don't have any kind of criminal history. You do have to abide by the court's orders as to conditions of release. You need to stay in contact with pretrial services as they direct. You're not allowed to have any alcohol or illegal drugs. You can't have any firearms. You need to surrender any firearms that you may have in your possession. You can talk with your public defender about how to do that, but they do need to go to a police department and they will keep them for you until this case is resolved. Do you understand all those conditions of release?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know.
Your next hearing in this case is going to be January 7th, 2025 at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're going to be responsible for showing up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant will issue for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you're going to be released, it's really important that you stay in contact with your attorney. So if dates change, you don't miss them.
Absolutely.
All right, you're all done.
All right, so,
Mr. Soto.
Hi, tell me your name.
Manuel Soto.
Mr. Soto, you are here on felony charges related to shoplifting and intent to facilitate shoplifting. You are also here on a warrant out of Pima County Justice Court for shoplifting. And you have multiple cases out of Tucson City Court where warrants have been issued for your arrest for criminal trespass and fraudulent use of a credit card. You have the right to remain silent on all of these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney on the felony charges. I'm appointing the public defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services on this case. It does look like you're also on felony probation.
No, Your Honor.
The state is recommending $5,000. Did you want to be heard further, Mr. Poston?
Your Honor, he's a 5 on the new criminal activity. He's a 6 on the failure to appear. And we have the fact that he is on felony probation. What I'm seeing is there's a history of violating said probation. He was continued in March of this year. State sees him as a flight risk.
Ms. Vol.
Your Honor, I don't think there's any information to indicate that he's a flight risk. There are no holds on him. These are shoplifting charges. You know, I understand that those are serious charges, but it's not something where he's a danger to the community and he needs to be incarcerated pending his case. Give me just one moment here. Mr. Soto has a stable residence. He's let me know he's a combat veteran. He is currently unemployed, but he's looking for a job and he'd like to keep doing so, Your Honor.
The concern I have, Mr. Soto, is the multiple failures to appear on very similar charges. I am going to impose a bond today of $2,500. That's a cash or secured bond. If you're able to post that bond, then you'll be released to pretrial services. If you get released to pretrial, you have to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You can't have any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms while this case is going on. You can't have any contact with the victims or return to the incident locations for this felony case. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Your next hearing on this matter is going to be December 30th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're going to be responsible for showing up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes.
So I'm a loser very good, right? Because it was paid as strong money over. And I've been doing good with my probation.
They didn't do a hold, that's good.
So being here for my next thing.
Unless somebody can feel something. You know, it's cash or secured. And then you can ask an attorney to file a motion. And this is your attorney, okay? So, either you can get out and make sure you stay in touch with an attorney, make sure you stay in touch with the attorney before you get it. All right?
So, Mr. Soto, I'm not going to impose bonds on the misdemeanor cases where you have warrants. So what I'm going to do is give you a future court date for each one of those cases. So I'm going to release you. And if you are out of custody, you're going to have to appear at justice court and city court for those cases. They're not going to go away. Those warrants are going to continue to be in effect. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I'm releasing you on your justice court matter. If you're still in custody, you'll be seen via video. But if you post bond, you're going to have to appear. That date is January 17th, 2025 at 8:30 in the morning. And that's going to be in front of Judge Cornejo in Pima County Justice Court. On the city court matters, same thing. I am going to release you on your promise to appear. Your court date in that matter is going to be January 22nd, 2025 at 2:00 in front of Judge Cranshaw. That's going to be a non-transport review hearing. What that means is that if you are still in custody, they'll appear via video. But if you are out by then, you're going to need to make sure you go to that court date at that date and time. Do not return to any of the incident locations or have any contacts with the victim. Do you understand all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you fail to appear again, there'll be warrants issued for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you're all done.
Make sure you stay in touch with your lawyer, okay? Thank you.
Peace.
Hi, tell me your full name.
Hi, Lamar Denning speaks.
Ms. Speaks, you are here today on charges of possession of a narcotic drug for sale and dangerous drugs for sale. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint Samantha Knob. Ms. Vole, it's spelled Knobbe.
Thank you.
So that will be your attorney in this matter, Ms. Speaks. We're here today to set your conditions of release on this case. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. I've also had the chance to review information provided by the state on this case. Looks like given the for sale of the drugs and the amounts that were found, the state is asking for a $10,000 bond. Mr. Poston?
State submits.
Your Honor.
Ms. Full?
So, Your Honor, it looks like she's a 1 on the pretrial services scale. She's also got no prior felony convictions.
I think she's talking to her.
And Your Honor, she's let me know, if she stays in, so she has a stable residence, she has a job. If she stays in jail, she's at risk of losing those things. She's also, she's compliant with obligations that the court imposes on her, and she'll continue to be. She also let me know that she's a mother and needs to provide. Is your children with you full time? Okay. So, and has 3 children. She'd like to continue caring for her children. And the pretrial services. Okay. She's happy to comply with any conditions the court imposes on her.
Give me just a second.
Please.
Because it was the city court matter, right?
We have another city court case?
No.
No, he doesn't.
Please. I will be here. Every hearing.
All right.
Please, Your Honor.
Okay. So Ms. Speaks, the reason that I was looking for information is that we saw Danny Mitchell earlier today. And I wanted to just let you know that on that case, he has been ordered not to have any contact with you because the order of protection is in place. So I'm just letting you know that I understand you talked to pretrial services about his case that he was seen for today. And you had indicated that you were fine having contact with him and all of that. But I want you to know that his order is that he not have contact with you until and unless something changes in city court. You can talk to the city prosecutor's office or do whatever you want to do on that case. But for right now, he is not allowed to have contact with you. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So I am going to release you, Ms. Speaks, to pretrial services today. You're going to have to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to have any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms while this case is going on. You have to stay in contact with pretrial. Your next hearing is going to be January 7th at 1:30. That's going to be a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're going to be responsible for showing up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You're going to be out of custody, so you must stay in contact with your attorney because if court dates change, you're going to need to know when those are so you don't get that warrant.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're all done for today.
Make sure this is the attorney's name. Stay in contact with them. Stay in contact with control. No, thank you.
Hi, tell me your name.
Bailey Spencer?
Mr. Spencer, you were here on drug charges today. It looks like the state is moving to dismiss those charges without prejudice at this time. Is that the case, Mr. Poston?
It is, Your Honor.
So what that means, Mr. Spencer, is that you're going to be released on the felony matters. The state's not going to go forward with those charges at this time. They could go forward with those in the future. I do have some other misdemeanor matters, however, that we need to talk about here today. So it looks like you have a warrant out of Pima County Justice Court for threats and intimidation. This is from 2019 that this warrant has been out there. The warrant amount is for $500. If I release you on this case, Mr. Spencer, will you go to Justice Court and get this matter taken care of?
Yes, I will.
All right, I'm going to release you. You've got to go to court. It's not going to go away. Your next hearing is going to be December 23rd at 1:30 in the afternoon. And that will be at Pima County Justice Court.
Okay.
All right, and now we need to talk about your city court cases as well. You're here for a warrant on that case for shoplifting. I am going to release you. Your court date on that case is going to be January 27th at 2:30 in the afternoon in front of Judge Verena at Tucson City Court. Do not return to wherever that shoplifting occurred. That's where the victims are and you're not allowed to have contact with them. Do you understand?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer, right outside when you get released later today, there is the transition center. Have you ever been there before?
No, but I know of it.
Okay, so they can assist. I see you have a general delivery address. Is that still your circumstance? Do you have a place?
Yes.
Do you have somewhere you can stay right now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, stop by the transition center. They have the ability to help people with services for substance abuse, mental health, transportation services, as well as housing. So if anything, stop by and see if there's something they may be able to assist you with, but you do need to show up at your court dates, all right?
Okay.
You're all done for today.
Thank you.
It says your court dates are down.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Hi, tell me your name.
Bruce Stevens?
Mr. Stevens, you are here today on a theft of means of transportation charge. It's a felony. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. It looks like they've indicated that you're on bond and released to pretrial services, and you also have another case pending in Pima County Superior Court Jail. Pretrial services is telling me that there's a warrant. Are you showing any kind of hold?
Not at this time, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Looks like the state is asking for a no bond at this time. Mr. Poston? I do note that pretrial services does say that he is pending an active felony matter. Mr. Poston, are you going forward with the no bond based on that?
Yes, Your Honor. Excuse me. I thought I unmuted my microphone.
Okay. So, Mr. Stevens, because you are on release for another felony matter, the state has the ability to request that the court, and the court has to honor that request. So I am going to hold you without bond today, but you get to have a hearing on December 23rd at 2:30 in the afternoon. That hearing, you'll have your attorney from the public defender's office should be out to talk with you before that hearing so that you know what to expect. You'll be transported for that hearing, and that will be the time when a judge will decide whether or not you will be held without bond or if a bond will be imposed. The next hearing on the underlying charge in this case is going to be December 30th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're going to be expected to show up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand the conditions of release that we've imposed here today?
Yes,
And do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear at future hearings?
yes.
All right, you're all done for today.
I'm looking at the pretrial services report. So just so I understand, it says he had a scheduled change of plea pretrial conference in his case tomorrow. So was he?
He's on release. He's on release in that case. There is no warrant. That's what I confirm with the jail. There's no warrant.
Okay, it's just because there's the other case.
Yes. We because we're almost done.
Stuck it. All in.
Hi, tell me your name.
Rebecca Tucker.
Ms. Tucker, you were here today on felony charges involving narcotic drug possession and drug paraphernalia. It does look like the state is moving to dismiss those felony charges at this time. Is that the case, Mr. Poston? You're still on mute.
It is, Your Honor.
So what that means, Ms. Tucker, is the felony charges are dismissed today without prejudice. They're not going to go forward. They could file those charges in the future, but it's not going to happen today. You're also here on a shoplifting warrant out of Pima County Justice Court. Looks like for shoplifting and criminal trespass.
I've already said it before.
There is a $100 bond that they're asking for on that case. If I release you on that case, will you promise to show up at a court date that I give you?
Yes, I've already made a new court date for that as well.
You already have a court date for that?
Yeah,
What's your court date?
I believe it was January 14th.
Let me see if we can confirm that because I was about to give you a court date of January 17th.
I'll take the 17th one too as well.
Hang on, let me see if we can just make one date that you can appear and I'll release you on it. You're just going to have to show up. Okay. Monty, I don't know if you can tell with Rebecca Lee Tucker if she has another date set up. Yeah. Do you want me to give you the CR number? Okay, so it looks like you had a hearing November 4th and you didn't show up. So I'm going to give you the date today of January 17th at 8:30. You're going to get released and you're going to get paperwork when you get released from the jail. That's going to have the court date and the location time where you need to be. January 17th at 8:30 in Pima County Justice Court. You are not permitted to return to the incident location where the shoplifting occurred. There are victims there and you can't go back there. Do you understand all those conditions of release, Ms. Tucker?
Yes.
And if you fail to appear, they're going to issue another warrant for your arrest. Do you understand that as well?
Yes.
Right, you're all done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Zimmerman.
Hi, sir. Tell me your name.
Curtin Zimmerman.
Mr. Zimmerman, you are here today on charges of unlawful possession of a dangerous drug and unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the legal advocate's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had a chance to review information provided by pretrial services, and that agency has told me that you may be eligible to participate in a substance abuse treatment court. What that means is if you're willing to participate in inpatient or outpatient residential or outpatient treatment for substance abuse, you stay in contact with pretrial services and complete the program requirements, the state would not go forward with these felony charges. Is that something that you're interested in doing? All right, so I'm going to give you a hearing that you have to go to determine if you're eligible. And then at that hearing, you're going to meet with your attorney, pretrial services, and there'll also be service providers from our community that you will be able to meet with. So you can sign up for those services if you want to participate. That court date is going to be December 26th at 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's going to be 3rd floor of Superior Court in front of Judge Hampson. Counsel, I'm inclined to release him to pretrial services today. Does anyone need to be heard further?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right, so I'm going to release you today to pretrial services. You do need to stay in contact with that agency, participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to have any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms while this case is going on. Are we willing to waive time for the preliminary hearing, Ms. Full?
Yes.
So what I just asked your attorney, Mr. Zimmerman, is whether or not we're going to waive time for the state to actually file the felony charges if you don't qualify for the program. Normally, they would have 20 days. We're going to give them 45 days. That's to your advantage because if you're eligible to participate in the program, then they're not going to go forward with these charges. So the next date after that December 26th date is going to be February 3rd at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, so it's really important that you stay in contact with your attorney so you're aware of any date changes. If you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, you're all done for today. And folks, I think we're done with the felony matters. Thank you all. We do have the city court matter with the Swahili interpreter that we still need to do, Jail.
Yes. May I be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, of course. You and Ms. Vol can be
Good day.
excused. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, he's there. We do have the interpreter. Hi, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
We're just waiting. Good morning. Tell me your name.
Habari ya asubuhi, majina yako?
Jail and mic must be muted. There we go. Try again, sir.
Habari ya asubuhi, unaweza ukasema majina yako?
Nzuri. Jina yangu Simon Mkumbirwa.
Simon Mukumbirwa.
Thank you.
You are here today for an initial appearance on a charge of indecent exposure.
Uko hapa kwa sababu ulishikwa kwa shtaka la kuonyesha uchi wako.
You do have the right to remain silent on that charge. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Uko na haki ya kukaa kimya kwa sasa kwa sababu kila kitu utakachosema kinaweza kikatumika kukushtaki haya mashtaka.
You are presumed innocent. I'm going to enter a not guilty plea on your behalf.
Kwa sasa haujakutwa na haya mashtaka.
I have an address for you on East Speedway. Is that still a good address for you?
Una anwani ambayo inasemekana ni ya kwako ya barabara ya East Speedway. Hiyo ndo anwani yako, ndo address yako?
Ndio.
Yes.
If I release you on this charge, will you promise to go to Tucson City Court at a date that I give you to take care of this matter?
Pia ukiachiliwa leo, utafika mahakama kwa tarehe utakayopewa, mahakama ya City Tucson. Utafika huko?
Ndio.
Yes.
I am going to release you on this charge on your promise to appear.
Unaenda kuachiliwa leo ili iweze kufika mahakama tarehe zitakazofuata.
Your conditions of release are that you not return to the incident location, which is on East Yavapai Road. You are not allowed to go to that apartment complex.
Umekatazwa kurudi ile sehemu uliyofanyia hili kosa linalosemekana kwa apartema ya pale Yavapai. Hauruhusiwi kurudi pale.
The victims are there and you're not allowed to have contact with them.
Na wale uliofanyia hayo makosa au waathirika wanaishi pale, wako pale, hauruhusiwi kuongea na wao ama kuonana nao.
Do you understand those conditions of release?
Unaelewa haya maagizo?
Ndio, naanza kuzungumza kidogo.
Yes, but can I say something?
I don't want you to talk to me about the offenses.
Usiongelee kuhusu hili tukio.
Sina hifadhi, nitaenda wapi sasa?
Rudia.
Sina hifadhi, ni hapa pale kuyapa ndio napoishi. Sina hifadhi.
I don't have any other place to go other than Yavapai. That's where I live.
I thought you had your address on East Speedway.
Address yako alikuwa nadhani iko pale kwa Speedway.
Hapana, niko lekala pale kwa apartment hapa pia.
No, my apartment is at Yavapai.
You don't have any other family or friends that you can stay with until this case gets resolved?
Hauna sehemu yoyote ya kwenda au mtu wa kukaa na yeye mpaka hii kesi malizike?
Hapana, sina kabisa.
No, I don't have anyone.
What is the address on East Speedway that you listed?
Sasa hii address ya pale kwa barabara Speedway uliyoweka ni ya nani?
Sijui, mimi nimepokelewa na shirika ERC kutoka Afrika.
I'm not sure. I was received by the agency IRC when I came from Africa.
All right. So your address is 320 East Yavapai Road. Is that right?
Manake address yako ni 320 East Yavapai Road. Ni hapo?
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. If I do allow you to return home, you are not going to be able to have contact. Don't talk to, don't go near anyone else's apartment except for your own. Do you understand that?
Ukiachiliwa hadi nyumbani, hauruhusiwi kuongea na mtu yoyote au kuonana na mtu yoyote ambaye aliyehusika kwa tukio hili. Wewe ni kwenda tu kwa nyumba yako, ni hilo.
Ndio.
Yes.
And do not
I hear you.
do not have any contact with any of the other residents. Go to your apartment and leave. Do you understand?
Hautakuwa unaruhusiwa kuongea na watu wengine, majirani. Wewe tuenda kwa nyumba yako, hakuna kuzungumza na mtu mwingine.
Asante, nasikia.
Thank you. I understand.
Your next hearing is going to be January 23rd, 2025 at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Tarehe yako ya kufika mahakamani ni tarehe 23 mwezi wa kwanza na saa 8.
Lakini naweza kurudia kidogo. Excuse me. Niko na koti kumahakama. Yani sijue kama nitaweza kuongezewa tena, sijue mwezi wa kwanza natakiwa nifike kwa courtroom na nikuonana na jije. Kama gisi mtu ananiambia ndio nitafuata. Lakini mimi judge niko na koti kule mahakama.
I do have another court date in January. I need to go before a judge. So is it going to be the same case or to be the same judge?
I don't have information on any other cases, sir. So this is probably a different court and a different judge.
Hatujui kuhusu hiyo kesi yako ingine ambayo iko mahakamani. Inaweza ikawa ni huyu atakuwa ni jiji mwingine tofauti na huo mwenye kesi yako nyingine.
Asante.
Thank you.
So January 23rd at 2 p.m. at City Court. If you fail to appear at that date and time, they will issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Mahakamani 23 mwezi wa kwanza na saa 8 katika mahakama inayoitwa City Court. Ukikosa kufika huko, wanaweza wakatoa karatasi za kukushika urudishwe ndani ya jela. Unaelewa hilo?
Labda nipate taarifu mwenye atanielekeza. Mimi ni binadamu, naweza kusaulika kidogo. Nipate taarifu mwenye atanielekeza kunitingiza.
If I have a reminder, I will make it to the court. I'm a human being, I may forget.
If you forget, they're going to issue a warrant for you. You can't forget. You need to show up.
Haupaswi kusahau. Umeelezewa, usipofika ama ukisahau utashikwa urudishwe ndani ya jela kwa sababu ulikosa kufika mahakamani.
Asante, naomba unaweza kunipatia kitambulisho kidogo ya kumbukumbu.
Is it possible to have a paperwork with this court date on it?
Yes, when you get released today, they're going to give you a copy of the paperwork that will have the court date and the location for Tucson City Court for where you need to appear. That documentation is in English, but if you take it with you, hopefully that will help.
Kiachiliwa leo utapewa karatasi ambayo itakiwa imeandikwa anwani ama adresi ya hiyo mahakama utakayoenda na kutakuwa kumeandikwa saa ya kufika huko. Ndiyo, hiyo karatasi itakuwa ni kwa Kiingereza, lakini kuonyesha mtu anaweza akakuelezea kipi kimeandikwa, lakini address na muda wa kufika huko na tarehe itakuwa hapo utapewa.
Thank you. Sasa kwa mahakama nako unajua sisi tuko bazaifu. Samoa anaweza kujua kwa mahakama ni wapi. Hapo mnaweza kunisamea kidogo.
I may not know exactly where the court is. Will you forgive me if I don't make it or if I fail to find the courthouse?
It's your responsibility to figure out how to get to the courthouse on the date and time that I gave you. If you don't show up, they're going to issue a warrant for you. And if that happens, you could find yourself back in jail.
Ni jukumu lako kujua mahali mahakama ipo na kufika huko. Usipofanya hivyo, itaamuriwa ushikwe urudishwe ndani. Maana yake ni jukumu lako kujua ni wapi mahakama ipo na ufike huko kwa muda ulioambiwa.
Asante, nitafika.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I will
all,
be there.
you're all done.
Umemaliza kwa sasa.
Asante, shukrani sana.
Thank you very much.
All right. We're all done, folks. Thank you very much for your help. Thank you, jail.
Thank you. Bye bye.